Okay, so I thought I'd take some time to discuss a couple of trailers that have hit after San Diego Comic-Con here. First up, a little bit about the Marvel TV trailers, and these are more, first looks and kind of conceptual teasers more than anything else. First up, we got the Netflix stable of Marvel characters. You've got your first look at Loris Tyrell, at Danny Rand in action as Iron Fist. I like these trailers quite a bit just because they're not giving away the whole plot necessarily. Probably because they're still in kind of the rough phase of editing episodes and putting in final effects and so forth. So far I enjoy what I see. You get a glimpse of like him being stranded in the Himalayas. You get to see him kind of wandering the streets a little bit, and then ultimately his power revealed as a wall gives way to one punch. In fact, Max is probably going to enjoy this quite a bit because it's pretty much One Punch Man come to life. It would be a cool idea if Doctor Strange kind of had either a name drop or a cameo of some sort, which I could see, seeing as how both Danny Rand and Stephen Strange have somewhat similar origins when it comes to obtaining the disciplines needed for their powers. That would be cool. I don't think it's going to happen in this particular series, but we can hope, right? Then we got Luke Cage. Out of all the upcoming Netflix series, this is the one I'm actually looking forward to the most, even more so than Jessica Jones or Daredevil. This can really establish yet another kind of genre or style in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the Marvel TV universe, let's put it that way. You know, Jessica Jones is a hard-boiled detective story, and Daredevil can be, and the Punisher can be the equivalent of really dark and gritty vigilante movies from like the 70s. Luke Cage can really play into like a gritty updated version of P.D. Wheatstraw or Dolomite or Human Tornado or things like that, where you have this lead character of color who is fighting up against like the oppressive oppressive community leaders, and is essentially dishing out street justice in a very non-vigilant, non-superheroic kind of style like Daredevil is. Like, he's just a guy in a hoodie who just happens to have unbreakable skin and goes around righting wrongs. Like, I'm behind that. I'm a fan of Mike Coulter, of his interpretation of Luke Cage since he debuted in Jessica Jones. Enjoyed the scene that they had him, just another hallway scene. These Marvel Netflix shows are getting good at doing hallway fight scenes, and this is yet another one. He's just slamming dudes into walls, bullets just ricocheting off of him, but like tearing into his hoodie, reaching through the bars of like of this prison, I guess, and just like lifting it off its hinges. Really cool stuff. I'm excited for Luke Cage. And then we got a brief kind of conceptual teaser for The Defenders, which will be dropping next year. Very much like the Jessica Jones teaser trailer, it's very stylized. It shows off the different feels of the characters that are going to be involved very well. And then you get a little bit of Scott Glenn's stick saying like, how do you expect to save the city? You guys can't even save yourselves. Very generic, cryptic type of dialogue with an ominous overtone to it. I'm excited for Defenders. It'll be fun to see all these characters working off of each other, especially see the Power Man Iron Fist team up. Now to get on to the more mainstream channel Marvel show, which is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They had an interesting conceptual teaser for their upcoming season. It's for a character I really thought was deserving of their own series, and definitely not an ABC show, but I'm still interested. Yeah, so you see the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo dissolves away, gives way to a skull, a flaming skull if you can already gather where this is going. And at that point I was like, okay, maybe they're kind of teasing us here, but it's not actually gonna be Ghost Rider. But then you see his penance stare, and then the flaming chain across the bottom of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D's logo, and the tagline, "Vengeance is coming," right? Or something like that. Vengeance arrives or something. So yeah, the Spirit of Vengeance is coming to ABC. Totally the channel you would want a flaming hellspawn on a motorcycle to be associated with. And this kind of ties into one of my main concerns about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Even though I still follow it, I still think it's okay. I mean, compared to the Netflix stuff, it's very inferior, I feel, but it's still got good qualities about it. I can still engage in it, at least, and, you know, invest enough in it. Even though Disney's giving free reign to the Netflix stuff and the movies, I have a feeling like when it comes to ABC stuff, they really put like a leash on the mature content for shows. And I'm not saying like, you know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should be this uber violent headshots galore. No, not at all like that. Like, it can still have its good espionage pacing and still have those big stakes. And frankly, I think they do kind of go for broke at times in that show. Like, all of last season was dedicated to this inhuman virus critter who eats people alive, essentially, or inhabits their rotting corpses, and there were quite a few headshots in the last season. At the same time, I always feel like the ABC Marvel stuff is kind of placating this standard set of family-friendly appeal. It's certainly more jokey than the other shows. I just feel like if S.H.I.E.L.D. was on Netflix, or, you know, had free reign on another network that wasn't a big mainstream network like ABC, they could be able to tackle stuff in a little bit more of an adult way. And that way I mean like something like the inclusion of Ghost Rider into a season narrative would feel like it's being handled a little bit more seriously. Now, of course, I don't know what they plan to do with Ghost Rider in this season. We don't even know who's playing him. We don't even know how big of an impact he's going to have in the full scope of things. It just feels kind of weird to see a character that dark and that so representative of stuff that mainstream networks would generally be terrified of, such as like Powers of Hell, frightening imagery for the kiddies, riding a motorcycle without a helmet. I kind of feel like not only would he be better served in his own series, but that he would be better served in a series that wasn't placating to such friendly or kid-friendly standards, I feel. And I feel that's what really kind of took the wind out of the sails of something like Agent Carter in Season 2. I liked Season 1 a lot. I enjoyed Agent Carter Season 1 quite a bit. But in Season 2, it felt like, it really did feel like there was this mandate from ABC or somebody to say, you gotta make with more jokes. You gotta make it a little bit more with the yucks. You gotta, you know, we get she's a tough as nails character. You gotta fem her up a little bit more. You gotta get her a little bit doughy-eyed over somebody. And it really, the romance part of that season really wasn't working for me at all. It really felt forced upon the character at times, and it really felt like this reeks purely of the network saying, we're losing a certain demographic because you don't have enough of this. Whereas with Netflix, you just do what you want. You do the source material, essentially, and you go for broke with it. And I feel something like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. could benefit from a move to a network that can be more accommodating to probably loftier ambitions than, you know, what ABC has set for it. Also, you get shorter seasons, which I feel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would very much benefit from, because it's very hard to keep momentum going over a 20-plus season arc. And only a couple shows do that well, such as probably The Flash, really is the only one that comes to mind for me right now. But also CW Network leaves them alone pretty much. Anyways, that's my gripe about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., even though it's not really a gripe. That's kind of my concern about introducing such a dark character onto a show that is allowed to get dark, but not as dark as it could be. And we'll just see. We'll see what happens. I hope they have good casting for the Spirit of Vengeance. If it's Nicolas Cage, I don't know, that could kind of be horrible or horribly glorious. One of the two, because I'm a Nick Cage fan, so I was kind of a mark for his batshit in stuff like Ghost Rider or Spirit of Vengeance. Alright, let's talk about this trailer that surprised a lot of people, I guess, at Comic-Con, because first off, it wasn't promoted as the movie that it actually is. It was promoted under the title The Woods. And so when people sat down to watch Lionsgate's trailer for The Woods, what do they get but actually the sequel people have been clamoring for since the Book of Shadows, Blair Witch. Here are my thoughts on the Blair Witch franchise as it is now. When I first saw Blair Witch in 1999, I thought it was okay for what it was. I wasn't completely sold on the idea of a found footage movie, but it worked for what it was in that initial viewing. As I would come back and revisit it from time to time over the years, it really doesn't stand up to my original thoughts or my original opinion on it. There's a lot of stuff that now I kind of look on as being like, that's a little weak sauce. Stuff like, well, the fact that the main three actors, Heather, Josh, and Mike, were given pretty much carte blanche to improv, and they didn't really know what was going to happen, so that was their genuine response to all the crazy stuff the directors were probably doing in the woods to freak them out. That stuff kind of worked. But also, it's limiting too, because as much as horror can be like what you don't see can be the scariest thing imaginable, that also was something of a detriment to that movie, because what you don't see also in subsequent viewings played into being like, there's nothing to see. If you were to turn the camera around at this point, it wouldn't be something creepy. It wouldn't be some upsetting visual or some disturbing imagery. It would probably just be the director with a tree branch going, whoo, because that was the budget probably that they were working with at the time. I'm totally for movies that show less and can be effective in that sense. I don't feel Blair Witch Project was one of those movies that succeeded in that aspect. I felt like you had to show a little bit more than just weird stick figure collections and piles of rocks to creep me out. Now, yeah, there was this cloth full of like hair and toenails or skin or whatever. You really can't tell what the hell that is. Go back and watch that movie. Like I find myself like squinting at it, being like, what the hell is that even? Why is she freaking out? I mean, yeah, her freak out is telling me it's something very upsetting, but you know, you can give me a little bit. I don't need a full-blown like CGI witch terrorizing them in the house. Give like a figure in shadow walking past the camera. These days, if you had the night vision, give like a pair of eyes just like peering at you in the darkness. You don't have to give away 100%, but a little percentage of something would be nice. That being said, about my thoughts about Blair Witch Project and how I'm like, it hasn't aged well in my opinion. This follow-up, because I guess it's going to be following the brother of Heather, he takes his friends out to the exact same woods apparently to look around for her, because they all think she's still out there somewhere. And shenanigans. Again, kind of a dumb thing. Same thing I kind of thought about The Veil when I saw that. Hopefully this is way better than The Veil, but if you're going out to somewhere where you know horrible, horrible stuff happened, or at least creepy stuff happened, don't do it. Don't mess around out there. Especially if you're not qualified to be out there messing around. But again, who knows? Maybe he's like a Marine in the Marine Corps or something. I don't know. But anyways, people get It looks like they have amped up the scare factor at least, or at least the jump scare factor. A lot of stuff goes flying everywhere at the last possible second. People are screaming their heads off. It looks as though they're gonna be following in his sister's footsteps pretty closely. But I hope there's a little bit more with regards to a plot here, because I thought another big weakness of the original was the fact that there was no consistency with the three characters' meltdowns. I mean, towards the end, yeah, everyone's like a wreck and they're desperate just to stay safe and get out of there and get everyone back together. Leading up into it, like when Mike loses the map, he's throwing a bitch fit way before that about being lost in the woods. And then it turns out he's the one who lost the map, and so he's like having, like, he's just going Looney Tunes. It's not even like he's angry or frustrated with himself or others. He's just going, okay, that came out of nowhere. It reminds me a lot, when I watch that movie now, it reminds me of a lot of when, you know that old Whose Line Is It Anyway segment where they would have 3 different props and each prop represented a different personality. Like, you have the machete, that represents rage. You have the flask, that represents lust. And you have the tennis racket, that represents nervousness. All the performers would switch off the props again and again, and they just take on those traits instantly. That's what Blair Witch Project now reminds me of, is those 3 characters are just kind of switching personality traits and switching moods at the drop of a hat, and it really doesn't make much sense. Like, even early on, when they're just being snippy with each other and some people take stuff way too personally, I'm like, where is this coming from all of a sudden? And again, getting into my original issues with the first one, but I don't know. Blair Witch could be interesting. It's not in the January, so it's not in the death blow of movies this year, of the year. It's in September, so we'll see. Maybe it'll be surprising. I personally just hope they bring back not just Heather, Josh, and Mike, and that they've all been living out in the woods and looking crazy and Duck Dynasty shit, but I'm kind of hoping they bring back some of the wonderful supporting players from the original. Like, let's say they bring back that old lady who's telling them that story about the Blair Witch. If she's still alive, God rest her soul if she's not. Or bring back those 2 fishermen, the one who I'm pretty sure was actually a serial killer with his big giant glasses. I mean, that would be kind of cool. Like, they're just driving down the creek and they see that exact same dude, now just 20-some years older. Creepy. Alright, so those so far were the trailers that really caught my eye on my news feed. I'll probably have my Star Trek Beyond review up sometime tomorrow when I can go see it, have time to go see it. Big announcement, next week I'm going to actually be at Wizard World Columbus with the 3 Geeks crew, July 29th through the 31st. We actually have 2 panels taking place, one on July 29th around 5 o'clock, and the other one taking place on Sunday around, I want to say, what was it, 2:30? I want to say. But I'll probably post a advert video giving you more details later on the week. But hey, if you're in Columbus area and you're going to be at Wizard World, come check us out, swing by the booth. I'll probably be having some free art giveaway stuff or things like that, and check out our panels. We'll be definitely giving away some stuff, selling merchandise, probably challenging you to Mario Kart, what have you. That's all for now, guys. I'll catch you later.